We're going to start with some definitions, and we're going to start with the WATAP team. You can tag team on this one. With the explosion of home technology over the past 10 or 15 years, a lot has happened, a lot is still happening. We can get confused by various terms that are being used that are going to help us figure this out. So if we talk about home technology, smart homes and smart home technology, assistive technology, Internet of Things, home automation, good golly, help us sort those terms out and what they mean for us.
Okay, I can start off with that, and then Maria will fill in anything I've missed. But I'll start with assistive technology, since at WATAP, that's basically what we live and breathe. Assistive technology, or AT, is more of an umbrella term to describe any device or service that helps a person with a disability or an older adult engage in activities of their choice. So in the home environment, those activities can be calling a friend, cooking a meal independently, turning on lights in their home, seeing who's at the door, and then also keeping track of appointments and other task management related activities. And so it can be something as low tech as, bump dots or tactile stickers that are applied to those flat screen appliances that have no physical or tactile buttons, so blind or low vision individuals can, use their microwave appropriately. It can also be more specialized devices like hearing aids for hard of hearing individuals, or refreshable braille displays for blind users who access braille to read materials. It can be a communication device for someone who cannot voice on their own. And it can also be things that are off the shelf. One of some of our favorite devices are the smart speakers, like the Amazon Echo or the Google Nest Mini. They allow for hands-free, voice-controlled access to information, communication, also the home environment. It's also important to remember that the services in relation to assistive technology, anywhere from assessment, procurement, and installation to training and maintenance, are considered AT services, and they are especially critical to the successful continued use of AT. There are numbers that range anywhere from 50 to 85% where people discard their assistive technology because they don't know who to turn to when something stops working, or maybe they didn't get a proper evaluation to begin with, so they don't have the appropriate assistive technology. So the services are just as critical as the AT equipment itself. Internet of Things, my understanding of this is that it's really any device that connects to a network or the internet and can talk to each other. So in a home environment, we're talking about smart home or smart automation devices, like the Echoes and the smart plugs and the lights and the Ring doorbell and all of that. But it's also used in healthcare. There's, glucose monitors and sensors that can remotely share information about your health status to your clinicians or your physicians. It can be used in farming for some of the kind of the big farming motorized autonomous equipment. So there's a lot of application in terms of Internet of Things, or IoT. And also, the definition of IoT includes the network that allows, the network and the data that allows for this intercommunication or interconnectivity between these devices. Did I miss anything?
Very good. The only thing I would add to that is when you're looking at all these terms like home technology, smart home technology, assistive technology, like Naomi indicated, and I want to reiterate that, is assistive technology is an umbrella, and when we're looking at pieces of equipment, whether that be devices or software programs, to help a person do something better or more independently or safer. So that's really the end goal in regards to what we do at WATAP, is trying to match that up for individuals.
Okay, great. Thank you. That at least gets us started. right, down the road. I know it can be confusing. All right, so we're going to change from the tech discussion momentarily and go to housing. So Sokha, we're going to talk to you now for a few minutes about your programs, who you serve, what kind of problems older adults have when they come to you, and what you can do for them. So talk about that.
Hello, good to be here. Thanks for that awesome bio. I did not provide that bio, so it looks like someone did some LinkedIn research, so I appreciate it. My name is Sokha. I'm with the Office of Housing. My focus today is about our homeownership stabilization programs, and what those programs are direct service programs to keep people in their homes. Much of the people that we serve are actually older adults. I'm going to bring up maybe just 3 programs right now and go into detail maybe later in this conversation. But the first program is our home repair program. It's 0% interest loan to focus on critical home repairs. So talk about structural issues, anything that has to do with the health and safety of the person living in the home. The second program is the weatherization program. That's all about keeping your home energy efficient, reducing the utility burden for residents in Seattle, household owners. And the third program, which I'm really excited to talk about today, is our clean heat program. By, I believe the date is 2028, the city of South trying to eliminate the use of oil heat. And what the Office of Housing is right now in the Office of Housing, in collaboration with the Office of Sustainability and Environment, we're trying to get people off oil heat and warming up their home, especially now in the wintertime. It's getting to be extreme weather. I think we can all agree with that. And we're trying to get them into an electric heated system. So we're trying to end our reliance on oil heat, get you to an electric heated system, use electricity to reduce your energy burden and also to help clean up the environment. In a nutshell, all our programs are about creating healthy homes for households in the city of Seattle, healthy, safe, and homes that people can age in successfully.
Okay, great. So you serve older adults, but your services aren't restricted to older adults.
Yes, that is correct. Our programs, the program eligibility income requirements vary from program to program, but everyone is eligible to apply, and we use the income qualification process. So as long as you income qualify, then you are eligible for a program.
Mm-hmm. All right, and your services include, I guess, on the home repair side. Is there a home repair loan program, and that's different from the others? And did I miss that when you just talked about it?
I mentioned it briefly, but
Okay.
I can get into a little bit more detail about it. The home repair loan program, it is $45,000 maximum loan amount. And the extraordinary thing about that, it's 0% interest loan. The city of Seattle is really interested in seeing you be able to repair your home, not charge you any sort of interest rate, and really get your home, if it's in critical damage, into a state where you're able to live in it. Many of the needs that I see that are common for homeowners in the city of Seattle include accessibility issues, such as ramps, roofing issues, things just as siding. So the home repair issues vary, but again, our goal is to make sure those problems don't pose a threat to your health and safety, and they also don't compound to something even more catastrophic for your living condition.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, so I'm going to switch now. We're going to ping pong a little bit. So it's going to be to Tyler, and then I have a dual role here as both moderator and a kind of a panelist. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some universal design issues. So Tyler, through your foundation, what are some of the, you're working your foundation and your professional work, barriers that people have in acquiring and using assistive technology, and are there any unique challenges that you're finding for older people in that context? So take it away.
Yes, thank you, Richard. There are many unique challenges, certainly. Many of the challenges cross over between the disabled population and the aging population. And this is a really important subject to discuss because I know personally how important it is to be able to live independently. I didn't start off that way after my spinal cord injury, and I do now, and it has greatly enhanced my quality of life. I believe there are unique challenges specifically to the education of assistive technologies, such as the use of off-the-shelf consumer products that can also serve as assistive technology, as well as the training necessary to use this assistive technology. Especially towards the aging population, it's important to remember that they didn't grow up with these devices like I did, so it won't be secondhand nature, and that's on us educators to remember that and develop training programs specific to that population to help ensure, sustained use and success.
I'm going to have a quick follow-up because Naomi and Maria mentioned, I think, the off-the-shelf products, and that's kind of one area, whereas consumers, average consumers of this stuff, we see it all the time. It seems like the training of those things might be kind of lacking. I mean, WATAP, I guess, provides lots of in-depth training on the stuff that you provide to folks. If I'm buying an Echo device from Best Buy or online or something, I guess maybe you can't buy it at Best Buy. It's only available through Amazon, another small mom and pop company based here. My sense is that people are leaving a tremendous amount of capacity of those off-the-shelf items unused. Is there a way that we can grapple with that? And you can answer then maybe the other folks as well, because there's just a lot that's possible that is not being exercised.
Sure. Once again, with education on what's available on these devices, they are not marketed as assistive technology tools. That does not mean they don't do assistive technology functions. Once again, on us educators, maybe even the companies, to help promote the assistive technology features they provide. And then, of course, on us to let people know that these devices can provide a great need to them and improve their quality of life.
Naomi, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think definitely the marketing and just the sharing of information about the features available is important from those companies. When we look at providing assistive technology, we always focus on the task or the activity that someone wants to perform, right? So I think if a family member is familiar with an Echo or a Google Nest, and their mom says, hey, I wish I could, listen to I can't read my Kindle book anymore. I wish I could listen to it. Then if Amazon is doing its job and sharing what services or features are available, the daughter can say, oh, look, you can actually listen to your Kindle on your Echo device. So, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming to explore all the features from the beginning, and so kind of adding on these features or tasks as they become a need is another way to go with technology.
One of the panelists in the last session talked about ageism reflecting, I guess, society's dominant use of internet access and technology to do the stuff of life, and I know that it's some of us are aging with some kind of technology basis, but a lot of us haven't been, and that is an issue. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to jump back in my role as partial panelist to talk a little bit about home design features from my perspective and give you some terminology clarification as well. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, all right? And then as you raise them, keep them up until I finish my just four questions. It's really your familiarity with these terms. If you heard about them, have kind of a working knowledge, you can raise your hand and keep them up. So, accessible home design. Any familiarity? Keep your hand up, thank you. Visitable home design. Anybody else? You can raise your hand. Keep your hands up otherwise. Up, up, up. Age-friendly design, home design. Familiar with that? Keep your hands up. Final, universal design. Right, so a lot of folks in here have heard some or others of these terms, and you have a working knowledge of them, maybe you don't. That's good. I'll hopefully provide a little clarification. Hopefully I won't make your lives worse by knowing what I'm going to share with you. So we'll start with accessible design. You know, we've all kind of heard about that, and accessible design kind of had its origins in, and still today in many cases, is about, you know, features that are designed to help folks with significant disabilities in some cases. A lot of it is an emphasis on people with mobility impairments. We understand this. We associate this in housing with things like ramps, with things like wider doorways, wider hallways, bathrooms that are larger, bathrooms that may have curbless showers, all good stuff. Or even going into kitchens, you know, a fully accessible kitchen. Lowered cabinets, lowered counters, knee space under the counter, things of that kind. So that's kind of the accessible design area in a very short nutshell. Universal design was an idea that came out of a lot of professionals' work in that area back in the 1980s and applied to housing. It has some very specific characteristics to it. It's high function, much higher function than traditional housing, but it also is and absolutely must be highly marketable. You have to be able to market a universal house to what I call mainstream households, which is to say households who couldn't care less about accessibility, who fear disability and aging, and don't want to talk about it. It has to be marketable to that group. In other words, you can't go up to that house and have it look different, or you're going to drive them away. You want more of it done. The other key characteristic of that is that they're easily customizable. We all customize our homes regardless of where we live. These have to be easily customizable at low cost as well. So it's not about having to renovate your entire bathroom for $85,000, whether you have it or not, or putting in a $20,000 ramp or something. It's small-scale changes in your house, like maybe you add grab bars as a result, right? Kitchens are a little bit of a different category, but in general, you're not going to be adding a lot of expense to customize it to your own needs. So that's accessible, then universal design. Age-friendly design is kind of a blend, because age-friendly design could easily be universal homes. All universal homes are by definition age-friendly, but age-friendly homes would actually have some of the customizations possible as well. You could have a ramp on an age-friendly home. Doesn't make it so universal. Adding grab bars is a common thing that happens. And in age-friendly homes, added lighting, interestingly, is a key factor in making them more livable and safe to live in. So that's kind of my take on age-friendly. We need more of those homes as well. And finally, I don't know if anybody raised your hands when I mentioned visitable design. The phrase is out there. It's probably in your building code in the state of Washington. I don't know for a fact, type C dwelling. That's what they're talking about. It's kind of accessibility, universal design light, in a sense, because it just talks about 3 features in the house: step-free entrance, wider halls and doorways, and a more usable bathroom. I'm not a fan, I'll be honest. If you are a fan, we can talk afterwards. But it's about visiting homes. It's not about living in homes. It's really about creating homes that are livability. It doesn't talk about kitchens or bedroom location or laundry location. It doesn't speak to the marketability. Ramps are just fine from a visitability perspective. And the bathrooms you could get away with and be fully visitable by some criteria is abysmally inadequate for anybody using a wheelchair or a walker who needs a caregiver. Anyway, that's the hierarchy. That's kind of how we see things playing out. Our emphasis from the R.L. Mace Universal Design Institute is on universal design. So we want to have more of those homes built, frankly, to put part of Sokha's operation out of business, and our good friends at Rebuild Together and some of our good friends at Habitat. I want to have those programs that need to be building ramps and adding grab bars. Grab bars is okay, actually. Changing bathrooms and so on to diminish over time. We won't unless we build new homes differently, and a universal design standard kind of checks all the boxes from my perspective in terms of being marketable to everybody, as well as highly functional for folks who need it at certain times during their lives. So that's my take on that. Okay, so that's kind of some introductions to some of these concepts, and I'm going to scrabble around here looking for my next question. Here it is. So this is for any of the technology folks there. We're going back to what was question 2, if you want to look at this. And so, again, the explosion of home technology, we've talked about it already. In my opinion, it covers a bunch of areas in home function, some of which have been mentioned. Security, for example. We're all familiar with the Ring explosion. I'd say Ring. Everybody's got a Ring doorbell now. It's a whole thing to itself. Lighting is an interesting home security feature, and lots of other security functions can come from that. Safety, including smart smoke detectors, again, lighting on places like stairs. home systems that include heating and ventilating, appliances, Internet of Things, right? Even indoor air quality and, believe it or not, lighting. We can control lighting with all these things. Communications, entertainment. We mentioned health and healthcare. What am I missing, team? And what do you think of those? Are there other items that should be covered? And talk a little bit about how home technology can be helping in those areas. We can start, Tyler, start with you and then work our way down.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, I mean, so many different ways. Really anything you can think of, starting off with when you return home, having your lights turn on, automations, you know, smart garage door openers opening for you when your car arrives home, all the way to specific things like we've previously spoken about, you know, smart speakers, smart fridges, all of these things are available. And while they seem kind of daunting because, you know, how would we possibly understand how they operate these? It can be done. And I think the more and more they become normalized and used more often, hopefully the setup and training required will become easier.
We can only hope. I mean, we've got to speak to another point that was made, my daughter gave us our first Echo device, right? We now have 5. They used to talk to each other very well. They don't talk to each other any longer, and I got to figure that out. There are some, you know, home tech kind of helpful companies out there that we'll mention maybe at the back end, but I'm fairly technology savvy, and I still get frustrated with that. Okay, Naomi.
Well, with the I Can Connect program, which is the program that serves individuals with combined hearing and vision loss, our focus is providing equipment and training for communication tasks. And I think, you know, having gone through this pandemic the last couple of years, and what Emily on the last panel said, you know, social isolation has significant consequences for everyone. And I think as we age, and especially if we're aging in our own homes, that increases, you know, the isolation, the lack of access to communication and to information. And so through the I Can Connect program, I did work with an older gentleman. He had significant vision loss. He was hard of hearing. He also had significant dexterity issues, so he couldn't operate a telephone. You know, he just did not have the ability to dial. He also had a communication disability where his speech was very quiet. He could not speak above a whisper level volume. And so with the smart speaker, this one ended up being the Google smart speaker, he was able to hear the speaker. We messed around with the voices, and there's a lot of options there. He could understand this deeper tone male voice at a certain volume. And then we provided a voice amplifier, which is just basically a little speaker with a mic so that he could communicate and control the speaker. Prior to this, he kind of was just hanging out alone with this caregiver, and now he could listen to country music, he could access news. And I was, you know, present for his first phone call to his folks in years. And, you know, that was pretty amazing to be able to help him connect in that way through this technology.
As I see it from that question, as you stated, technology holds a great promise. It's ever-changing. Every day it changes. The interest in like mobile technology just continues to explode. It's been my experience, though, that the next trend, because I just had to put together a presentation for this, is remote care monitoring. So it falls under the umbrella of health care. I think many of us experienced the use of telemedicine during the pandemic and being able to see our physicians and our healthcare providers during this time period of the pandemic. The remote care monitoring, I think, is going to continue to grow. It's providing, those of you that might not be familiar with it, it's a piece of technology that is either worn by an individual and then is connected through the internet, and that data, whether it be their blood pressure being monitored, their insulin levels, their heart rate, their blood pressure, can be sent to a healthcare provider without that individual even leaving their home. So that kind of technology, I think, has it's a double-edged sword, because you're sharing all that private information over the internet, but at the same time, it's also giving you access to your healthcare provider for those individuals who might have transportation issues in getting to their healthcare provider.
Tyler, you got something?
Yeah, absolutely. So to piggyback on what Maria said, there's many smartwatches now with built-in fall detection that is not difficult to set up. I think in the near future, we'll start seeing homes being mapped virtually to detect a person's maybe routine around the home. So let's say someone doesn't leave the same room for 24 hours, an alert will be sent, and hopefully we'll be able to use those to help a lot of people.
Yeah. A while back, I guess, became aware that some of the home technology around healthcare, caregiving, had migrated from nursing home technology that has been developed, and it was addressing dementia-related issues particularly. So locational information, wandering, where people were, but also things, and maybe the smartwatches can do this also, you can tell me, that can monitor whether mom is getting out of her chair frequently, whether she's opened the utensil drawer in the kitchen very often, things like that. I guess you mentioned privacy. You can have cameras. I know people who do pet management via their cameras, but do we want to have cameras in with our older adults? Do we threaten mom or dad with going to another place unless you acquiesce to our desire to monitor what you're doing? Tyler, you want to start with that? We can go down the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Cameras are great. I use them for nurse monitoring. No.
Yeah, there you go.
They're becoming more common. People have them in their homes. Amazon Echo with screens can do, video-to-video calling, but just by a spoken command. They also can do a drop-in feature where if you get your loved one to permit, you at any time can connect to the video feed and check in what they're up to. I was always checking in to make sure my grandma wasn't getting into trouble, so that's good. No parties. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay.
There's also the Amazon Astro, which is their little robot that follows you around. I was kind of curious, about what the marketability or the functionality of that was, and Amazon also has a subscription service now called Alexa Together, and it is, I think it's about $30 a month, and it is kind of a remote monitoring service for older adults. So it includes, 24/7 urgent response care, so you do have the ability to contact some professionals. It's not 911, but it is somebody who can respond in case of an emergency. The son or daughter or a caregiver can get activity feeds, and especially if you're using this little robot that follows the individual around the home, you can get some real-time activity information and provide remote assistance right there if something happens to the individual. It works with, some of these smartwatches so that it can detect the falls with the smartwatch and then make the appropriate emergency calls as necessary. So it's kind of interesting, I think, to see moving forward what these different tech companies are offering, because I think they do see a huge market out there for folks who need safety and security as they age in place.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Another well-known phenomenon which plays into that is is people tripping and falling over their pets. So it's one more opportunity, the silly dog, to fall, and I'm not sure that's
Well, it's supposed to be a smart robot, so maybe it'll
skid
move
around
out of the way. Yeah.
Smarter than your average dog, I hope. That would work well. It does. Some of this technology can cut both ways, of course. But social isolation is clearly the thing we need to be dealing with. Okay, we're going to back to the Hauser topics now. So Sokha, so we have the reality of climate change and the need for selecting sustainable solutions for people of all ages in their housing. Talk a little about your agency, your organization, and what it does in that area.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. We had I think, an unusually warm October. I think everyone can attest to that. But a program I'll bring up again in a bit more detail is our Clean Heat program. It's estimated that about anywhere from 15,000 to 18,000 homes in the city of Seattle are eligible to convert their oil furnace into electric heated system. This is, I think, based on the utility discount program data. What we're doing is just really trying to cut our reliance off oil heat. The program launched in 2019, focused in the South Park and Duwamish Valley, Georgetown neighborhood, and also Beacon Hill. And we know that BIPOC communities of color, are disproportionately impacted by pollution, environmental racism, and so on and so on. This Clean Heat program is in part, we think, an action or hopefully a step towards rectifying that. The Clean Heat program is completely free, based on income eligibility as well. You'll be surprised, I think, in the city of Seattle, what these income eligibility guidelines are, and I can just share with you kind of briefly. I put the income data here. But for an example, is a family size of 1 to be eligible for a Clean Heat program, which is converting from oil to electric, you must make less than $6,281 a month to be eligible for a household size of 1. In this program, we can either decommission your tank in place, or you can have it removed completely from your property. Again, the end goal of this program is to get the homeowner that is using oil heat to stop using oil heat. That's going to be better for their pockets and also better for the environment. I believe the statistic is with the elimination of 15,000 to 18,000 homes with oil heat, that's about taking 90,000 cars off the street in Seattle each year. So that's just a very real and permanent thing we can do to help fight the climate crisis that we have.
Yeah, thank you. I'm asked questions like that, and there are some connections between age-friendly design, universal design, and actually things sustainable, some of which are becoming very apparent. But just here's a few of them. One is if you're building new or maybe renovating extensively homes that have universal design, you're probably preventing later very extensive, very expensive modifications that would otherwise not be needed with a universal. Universal homes are preventing that. And you're saving natural resources as a result. So you're not having to do these extensive renovations just because someone can't use them anymore. You're saving money and materials. Front-loading washers and dryers, many of us may have them now. One of the things they advertise is lower water utilization and lower energy costs. We like them because ergonomically they're terrific. You can mount them at any height, on the floor, up in the air, depending on how tall you are. The controls are on the front now mostly, so you can see them, we can get at them, even though they're incredibly complicated to use. You may agree. So they've got the ergonomics down. They don't have the human factors quite figured out yet. That's a problem. But you can get smart washers and dryers that you can control from here. Maybe that's better. I don't know. I don't have one. But that's a good thing, right? Saving water, saving energy, and being ergonomically good. LED lights, when they're first coming in, huge cost savings, and particularly for older adults. What we want to do is add brightness, right? Adding brightness is an important component of staying safe and being able to function naturally. We need brighter homes, and they save electricity too. I think everyone has probably shifted to LED lights. I don't know. Anybody still gravitating towards The old, so I'm not sure. Anyway, so it lets that happen. It also produces this extra light at lower energy cost and not with the same kind of heat output. So we're saving on heat in that regard too. Okay, so that are those questions. And so, well, here's a question for the whole panel as you wish to be able to participate in this, and that is, we're building new homes, or maybe in the midst of substantial renovations. What should we be thinking about in terms of building into this new dwelling features, components, capacity that can help us take advantage of technology more? Or is it all just plug and play? So, Tyler, you can just work our way down.
Sure. I'll just give one specific example, and that is lighting. There are Bluetooth light bulbs that all it takes is screwing them in to the socket, light bulb socket, but they often don't work as well as wiring in a smart light switch. So that is something that could easily be done with all new homes and would save the homeowner a great deal of trouble later on.
So you get a garden variety LED light that's just controllable from a wireless or Wi-Fi switch.
Well, actually, you would wire in a switch
Wire in a,
to the wall.
You'd replace your existing switch with the new one. Yeah,
Or
right.
in this case, build the home with that switch in it.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Anything, Sokha, from your end?
Yeah, don't build a new home with an oil furnace, first of all. That'd be my recommendation. But secondly, connected to that, once you're on the electric grid system, the city saddle also offers programs such as the utility discount program, which offers you a reduction or a discount if you're income eligible on your utility bill. I think secondly, with not the idea of not having an oil furnace, things are getting hotter, things are getting colder, but specifically talking about the summertime, if you have a heating system such as a ductless heat pump, a DHP system, as it's known, you can have AC in the summer too as well. And I believe AC is getting more common here in the Northwest.
Lamentably, yeah. Okay, Naomi, Maria?
I would love to suggest putting in accessible appliances in homes. You know, a lot of the new fancy ovens and stoves and ranges, whatever, are touch screen, LCD. They have terrible contrast. They can be very complicated. You know, I think that could be a place, because most homes do come, especially new homes, come with appliances. So I think if you have to use these fancy LCD screens, maybe choose ones that are compatible with apps, so someone has another option to control the device other than these displays.
I come from it from a structural kind of vision. I have a family member who bought a 3-story townhouse with a bunch of stairs, knowing that she has a degenerative, old knee injury, and after a year or so living there, realizing that that probably wasn't the best thing. So in regards to design, I think it would be great if a lot of the homes were stairless, 1-floor plans. Being able to retrofit something like that with like a stair lift is oftentimes cost prohibitive for individuals, but just having stairless or having an accessible bathroom or homes with 0 or very low thresholds makes a significant improvement in people's mobilities as they age. That we oftentimes don't think about. Even that little lip between transitions between doorways can be a hazard for some individuals who are using simple mobility aids like a cane or a walker.
For all homes, that would be good. But one of the realities is we're talking about older adults today, as we should, I think. And the situation is that we're either aging with a disability or we're aging into disability, right? There's really the only 2 options. The third option we don't want to talk about because it's not a good option, right? One of those 2 things is happening, and in spite of the fact that we've seen all of our family members go through the same process, friends, colleagues, and so on, we ignore all this stuff, and so that's why we want to build these things in new so that we don't have to worry about these massive retrofits or living these smaller and smaller lives where we're giving up all of these daily activities and all these connections that are so important. Okay, so next topic. I did some research on home technology, and I know that I can get a smart coffee maker for $650. I can get a smart refrigerator that will tell me when I'm out of something. I can have a camera in it that will look in my refrigerator when I'm at the store to see if I have any eggs left, which is $3,000 or $4,000 for those things. You can get very spendy very quickly with a lot of this high-tech stuff. So we're talking about affordability. I know that the off-the-shelf devices, one of the things I like about them is they're fairly affordable. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. You can get a $35 item to get you kind of going, and you can certainly, they want to upsell you, right? So they want to sell you more and more things over time. So given what some of this stuff can cost, do people have suggestions about what are more affordable versions or ways that we can get cheaper items in this category? Whoever wants to take that. And if there's no answer, we'll take that as a resounding, you're out of luck. But any options? I mean, does WATAP provide, hang on, Tyler. Does WATAP provide, I mean, what do your services cost? Do they cost for folks who access them?
Two of our core programs, the device demonstration is of no cost. People can contact us to try out various technologies that we have available in our center. So it's try before you buy. And then the other consumer-driven program is borrowing equipment. So you can borrow pieces of equipment from us, and if you can ship it, if you don't want to come to the campus to pick it up, we ship it to you. There is a small lending fee for that to help with sustainability, anywhere from $10 to as much as $50, and that covers all shipping costs to you and also back to us. But we're not a vendor, so we do have a partnership with a program called the Northwest Access Fund that provides low-interest loans, and they work with individuals with disabilities to acquire those low-interest loans to purchase AT equipment, or you can even use it to modify your home. And Alan, you can jump in. I think they can borrow as much as $25,000. Is that correct? 40. Now it's up to $40,000 to borrow for that, and then they work with the consumer to determine a monthly or repayment program that is affordable to them. So that's one thing. But as you're right, buying and purchasing assistive technology can be significant financial hardship. Many of the AT that's out there that's not considered medically necessary will not be covered with a third-party payer like Medicare, Medicaid, or a private insurance. So things like mobility aids, durable medical equipment can be covered with documentation from a physician or healthcare provider. Dedicated communication devices for people who have speech impairments oftentimes can get that stuff covered, but other things, many of the things that we're talking about today are not covered.
Tyler, do you have something on that?
I do. I'll go ahead and call it like do-it-yourself assistive technology. And what I mean by that is, in some cases, using products maybe not for their intended purposes, but making slight alterations to have them fit your need. And maybe we'll use Richard's coffee maker as an example. So would you say you're looking for maybe just your coffee to be ready when you come downstairs in the morning?
Exactly.
Great. So rather than buying a really expensive $600 coffee maker, there is an item, for example, called SwitchBot. It's just this little mini robot, an inch by inch, that you could set on your old not fancy coffee maker, and it'll press a button. You can also have a timer go off, so it presses the button at 6 a.m., so your coffee is ready when you want to have it. So there's other ways around it than buying necessarily something specifically designed for that.
Okay, good answer. One of my early experiences in this area, we had a dad retrofit a garage door opener to slide open the sliding glass doors going from the house to the porch for his son who used a power chair. They'd already made the ramps coming up in and out, but his kid couldn't come and go from the house as every other kid does at some point in their lives. And so they gave the kid the button to this thing, and it worked magically, and the parents freaked out because they were not used to not being able to control this child's coming and going. So again, unexpected consequences for this. We have some terrific questions that are come up, and I'm going to throw these out to the audience, to the panel. And I guess we didn't mention this a lot, but we know that one of the things that happens with older adults in our changes is that we have an increased occurrence of respiratory issues. A lot of us have respiratory issues all our lives. With older adults, it seems to occur more frequently. And as we heard, we spend more and more of our time indoors. And if you're in Seattle, you kind of have to, don't you? I'm just kidding. So indoor air quality is the question. We know there's things you can do with materials and what you'd be doing. But also, are there technology solutions? I've got some in mind. Some of them are spendy. But there may be other options with it. How do we improve our indoor air quality given the amount of time we spend inside anyway? Anybody want to tackle that? No? Tyler will do it. All right.
Sure. There are several items. I guess they would just be called smart air purifiers. A very popular one is the Dyson air purifier. It can be controlled by an app, a remote control, or by voice. So that is just one of the options.
There's a lot of heating and ventilating system add-ons you can put onto your existing system, or if you're buying a new one, that will moderate the humidity of your house as well as the temperature, and also a crucial element that's not present in so many of our houses, which is what do you do if you've got your dryer going and someone's taken a shower and the bath vent is going, and someone's using the stove and they've got an external vent on their stove, which we should all have, by the way. External vents on stoves, that's one big area, get those particulates and toxins out of the way. Where's the new air coming from? All that air is going out. Well, it's unconditioned air coming in through cracks around your doors and windows, and there's systems, fairly expensive, that'll add makeup air. It'll condition air coming in, it senses the drop in air pressure, and will condition the air that comes into your house so you're not having this leakage happening. Anyway, and there's other things you can do. I heard about some inexpensive things. If we have time, we'll get to those. There's really good questions that it's going to take me a while just to read them because we have so many. So I got to kick it to you guys for a minute while I read these things and then figure out how we're going to work these things in. We touched on the dangerous robot dog, I'll now call it that, which can help you but also can endanger your life. And this whole area of this fringe area of home technology is robotics and the use of artificial intelligence, which frankly gets a little bit beyond my knowledge or even understanding, but it seems to, again, have great potential and also some potential for some dangerous harm at the same time. And you want to tackle that? What's the future of that? I'll just lead by saying I know that social isolation is a huge problem, and this robot dog, that can really perhaps add some dimensions of that, but who wants to tackle that? Maria, you look thoughtful.
Sure. Yeah, I think robotics is, right now it's not financially feasible. It's pretty expensive, but countries like Japan have been using robotics for a while because of their aging population is much higher than their younger population, and so they were concerned that there wasn't going to be enough people to take care of the elderly, so they've been developing these robots that can help with physical mobility and transferring people like in and out of the bathroom, in and out of their beds. So there are those robots that exist now. They're in the United States, but most of them are still in beta, and they're super expensive. There's robotics in the sense of what we call like exoskeletal robotics that is actually available right now, and there's some rehab facilities that are utilizing those exoskeletons, and basically it's like robotic legs that attach to a person who has like paralysis, like a spinal cord injury, to help them with relearning how to walk. And then there's robotics to help with social isolation, where the robot will follow the person from room to room and sit across from them and be able to have these conversations with them. So there's different tiers depending on the type of thing that you need the robot to do for yourself. But I think financially they're not very affordable right now for the common individual. But I don't think they're going to go away. I think they're just, they're here to stay, and hopefully they'll become more affordable.
Tyler? Yeah.
Yes, I'll give just one example of a piece of robotics. And I think robotics is definitely coming, and it's very promising. There is a research project going on now for a autonomous feeding robot, where for someone like me, I can say, I would like to eat a strawberry, and the robot will grab the strawberry from the plate and feed it to me. But maybe for someone who's elderly, they need help grabbing something from the fridge or passing food. These are things that robotics and machine learning can easily handle and assist us into the future.
There are lots of movies out there that paint a very dark picture of the future of robots in our lives. And there's lots of very apocalyptic kinds of things. Robots doing bad things, right? There's one funny movie you should all see if you have interest in it. It's called Frank and the Robot. And it's starring Frank Langella. Funny movie. It gets to issues about control, who's making choices. His son introduces a robot to his life that he hates, and it's kind of a bromance, kind of a thing going on with the robot. Funny. It may contain some of these things that we're talking about as well. I do recommend it. Lots of questions. Here's one that on a slightly different topic. So much of what we talk about with housing and with making improvements to housing, making changes in housing, relates to owner-occupied dwellings, or at least privately owned dwellings. How about a lot of renters? How can, what can we do if someone's renting a dwelling, it's not accessible, and they have the options that renters have, which is not necessarily that many? Can you tackle that, Sokha?
Yeah, no, I think that that question is correct. A lot of the programs that I've talked about today are for owner-occupied households, but the Clean Heat program is eligible for renter-occupied households. With that, we have the owner sign a covenant with the city of Seattle, saying that at least for 3 years that the owner will keep that dwelling affordable. So our goal for the City Seattle Office of Housing is to make sure that if we invest $15,000, I think $17,000 on average to remove your oil tank, that you really aren't going to turn your back against the renter and kick them out or raise the rent on them. Related to the first question from the audience that we got around improving indoor air quality, I'd like to bring up our Weatherization Plus Health program, which is a pilot program we started with King County Public Health, which is open to multifamily buildings, renters as well as single-family homes. And that partnership was all about weatherization, which is really the study of the building science of a building, how to improve its energy efficiency, and also, I think, most importantly, how to improve the indoor air quality for the resident as well. With that pilot, the deal was this. We did weatherization work. We also provided a HIPAA vacuum, which is a special vacuum, HIPAA certified. And also, we connected that resident, or in some cases, that renter, with a King County public health worker, a community health worker who was able to check in with that person and make sure that they were going to their appointments and just trying to reduce the symptoms and triggers of asthma in their house.
All right. Last 30 seconds for each. Cliff had the right idea. So Maria's talked about her desire to have more homes built with these kind of accessibility universal design features. I would second that and say that I wish that Seattle and King County would either incent or would require on some level more private housing that's built to have some of these features that will get us towards there. So your wishes and desires quickly, Naomi, Sokha, and then Tyler. Anything you want to see in the future that's like a quick hit? What do you want more of that we need?
Well, for all of these things to run, you have to have Wi-Fi and internet connectivity, right? And so I think that is such a huge expense for people. I mean, even if you're using a smartphone for most of your tasks, which many people do who can't afford some other
All right.
form of community.
Well done.
Okay.
You got applause from the audience. We all get applause. That was good. Sokha, the one thing you want?
More housing. I think.
All right, there we go. We got that.
There it is.
Just in general. All right, Tyler, last one.
Age-specific technology training.
Age-specific technology training. All good things. Biggest applause of the day for that. That's very good. Thank you, panel. You were terrific. I love it. Thank the audience for paying attention for this long. I will bow out now and make way for the next panel.